We're trying to be modern, progressive parents. We're trying to meet her needs. We're in therapy, but I also got some old school in me, you know? I like playing rough with my kids. I like giving them noogies and Charlie horses and indigenous people burns. There's just a generational gap that I can't fully empathize with what she's going through. Like, she recently, after therapy, she said to me one time, she's like, "Hey, Daddy, did you ever do therapy when you were a kid?" I was like, "Oh, honey. No. Therapy? I couldn't tell my dad I was thirsty. We weren't doing things like communicating emotional vulnerabilities. No, we were doing things like hiding injuries so we didn't get in trouble. That's what we were doing." I remember one time when I was a kid, me and my friend Tommy were playing in the ravine. You were never allowed in ravines when I was a kid, all right? Kids got kidnapped in ravines like every single day of the 1990s. And Tommy fell down and got a cut that was clearly from there. He's like, "Dude, I can't go home, man. I can't go home. I'm gonna be in so much trouble. You gotta help me out. You gotta stitch me up." I was like, "Stitch you up? Tommy, I'm wearing Velcro because I can't tie my shoes right now. I don't have the fine motor skills required for this medical procedure, unfortunately." And then it just hit him. He's like, "I guess I just live in the ravine now." People get real uncomfortable when I talk about like any of the race stuff or the protest stuff too, you know, like even just mentioning that I would go to the protest, people would get, but I admit, you know, there are certain things that define us. Once you become a dad, you are always a dad. The whole world that you filter is through a dad. When the first protest started, remember the big one in Minneapolis at Target? I was watching that as a dad. I was like, this is ridiculous. What are you doing looting a Target? You don't loot a Target. If you're gonna loot, you need to loot a Nordstrom Rack because they have a way better return policy, all right? You can return anything in Nordstrom Rack. You could have looted a Nordstrom Rack, brought it could still have the glass on it, and they'd be like, store credit, is that good? Nordstrom Rack will take anything. You turn that into cash. That's a smart move. And I will say, so I live in San Diego, and one of the areas that right where I live, La Mesa actually got hit really hard. There was a big riot. 3 buildings got burned down. All right, sad. It's the thing. It happened. Now, there was one thing that happened. One business. It's not funny. It's kind of funny. A Play It Again Sports got looted. You guys familiar with Play It Again Sports? They sell used sporting goods. If you're gonna loot, get something new. Treat yourself to stealing something new, at least. Get a TV, a new, but no, someone's like, "Man, I need that used hockey stick." That's what I need right there. But even so, that's the whole dad thing. Even so, I attended a few protests, and even that, I'm way too dad on it. I did too much research ahead of time. I was like, all right, so like, how long's the walk? You know, like I need to know what pair of New Balances to wear. I don't. And like, is it gonna get like, how fast are we gonna be going? Like, is it gonna get cold? Like, should I bring a jacket? Is that necessary? But you know what nobody tells you what to do when you go to the protest? Is nobody tells you what to do with your sign afterwards. I have a sign. I made the sign. It says Black Lives Matter. I believe it. I'm on the team, all right? But I made the sign. It's not a nice looking sign. I'm not gonna put it on the wall when I get home. But I also don't want to be seen putting a Black Lives Matter sign in the trash. That's not the message that I'm trying to send either. So right now, it's in the trunk next to the hockey stick is where it is. It is. Teenagers, I love you. God bless you. Not real people yet. A teenager is not a human. That is a rough draft of a human, all right? It's not. If you turn them in, it wouldn't be a failing grade. It would be incomplete. Do you understand me? It's in process. It's not done. I have a 12-year-old boy. I don't like any of it. I don't like it a bit. Not 1 second of it. I don't like the way it moves. It's all gangly. Don't like that. No. The face. You look like a baby with a mustache. What's that look? The smell. You smell sour. Who smells sour? You smell like behind an Applebee's. Like, do you have a grease trap in your pocket? Like what? When do you shower? You've never showered. Are you a snake? Like, do you just shed the skin? Honey, change the sheets, he molted again. Like, I don't know, it's awkward years. They're that weird thing where they're not a child or an adult. They're that weird in between, you know? Like, middle schoolers are like tadpoles, like when they have the tail and the legs, you know? And you'll just look at them like, you're not cute and you're not useful. What are you? Middle schoolers are like why church youth group was invented, because parents were like, this is God's problem, all right? Do you understand me? I'm out. I'm gonna have you baptized just for the shower. Just for the shower! It's a weird generation, too, because they don't do things that every generation has done before them. Like, I watched this interview with the 6 12-year-old boys. They were in that horror movie It that came out a few years ago. And they asked them what the hardest part about this movie was, and they didn't say the scary clown, and they didn't say memorizing their lines. All 6 of these 12-year-old boys said the hardest part about this movie is we all had to learn how to ride bikes. 12-year-old boys? I was like, I hope the clown is real. I hope he's real, all right? At least for you 6, they said to take bike lessons. Bike lessons? Bike lessons are your dad going close enough and shoving you into traffic. Ride or die, son, ride or die. Take off that helmet, you wuss. Come on, boy. We got like a really packed house. My kids, like they're much bigger, and then my dad lives with us too. But it's time to like give him the boot, which is a little bit sad to me because I mentioned like being raised by my dad, and we're very close to him. My dad never remarried, and it's a large part me and my sister's fault because we hated his girlfriends. But in our defense, Sherry sucked. Sherry's the worst. I hated Sherry so much. I remember one time I had a nightmare, and I went and I knocked on the door, and Sherry answered the door. And I was like, Sherry, I had a nightmare. And she goes, what was it about? And I go, vampires? And she goes, that's not a big deal. Whenever I get scared of vampires, which should have been clue number 1. I was about to get some pretty terrible advice. And she goes, whenever I get scared of vampires, I just cover up my neck with my blanket. Because that's where they bite you. Sherry did not invalidate the existence of vampires. Sherry told me how to fend against them. Now you make a little kid feel better about that? Go, don't worry, they're not real. Sherry's like, they're back. I knew this day would come, all right? Whatever you do, remember, you don't invite them in. I'm like, I wish you weren't invited in, Sherry. My dad, he had like a, he had like a real anger to him, but like we would never get hit, but we knew when he was mad, like it was very clear, like I remember one time my sister slammed her bedroom door in my dad's face, and my dad reopened the door and goes, this is my door, and this is how you slam it. Whoom! And it fell off the hinges. And I'm just sitting there as the little kid. He's like, what do you got to say about it? I was like, it's just an honor to learn under you, Father. Yeah, I'm going to pass this down to a real mean girl one day. I can't wait, My dad, like, I've taken after him in, like, a couple ways, Like, one key way that I've taken after him is that I do not hate all my kids' friends, but it doesn't take much for me to hate them. Kind of walk around with, like, a baseline of irritability, Like, like, that's what it is. Like, my dad hated my best friend growing up, Gavin, all because whenever we dropped Gavin off, Gavin couldn't shut the van door all the way. That's it. That's every detail right there. He hated him for 10 years. We dropped him off 2 times. 2 times. Which I used to judge my father for that, and now I'm a dad, and I will hate a kid for way less than that. Way less. My daughter recently told me she made a new friend named Branch. I hate the whole family. You can't name a kid that. That's irresponsible. I understand that cute little baby Branch is a nice little idea. I get that, but you understand that grows up. That becomes an adult. That's a lot of pressure on a person to have who needs to get on the internet and get a job and get on Tinder. Like, if there's ever a person in this world that's going to snap... That's why you need to have that strong bond with a marriage, because kids will hit you, man. Kids can be mean. And they can be mean in very vulnerable moments, too. I get really car sick. The last time that I got car sick in front of my kids, not only were they not supportive, they were mocking me. They were doing impersonations of me puking as I was still actively puking. Just in the back of the car, I'm dead. Is he crying? What a loser. I don't know how to handle that situation, all right? That's not in any of the books, you know? I just go instinct. I go, look at me. You look at me in the eyes. You need to know that of everyone in this family, your mom is the only one that I picked. We actually had some friends tell us once that they let their kid choose their consequence. Yeah, they said, hey, if at any given time we're like, our kid, if we're giving them a lecture, they can raise their hand and they can opt out of that lecture and take a spanking instead. I know, I looked at my wife and I was like, I want that deal with you.
Spare the rod, spoil the husband. It's